Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Deltek Costpoint 2025.3 Harmony, a first look at what's new, presented by NeoSystems. I'm Don Carnevale, Marketing Director at NeoSystems, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can enter them into the Q&A area within Zoom. We will have some time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. Also, we will make the webinar recording and presentation slides available to all registrants in the coming days. For over 20 years, NeoSystems has been the leading provider of back office and professional services for government contractors, including outsourced accounting, finance, payroll, HR, systems integration, reporting and analytics, hosting, IT, and information security, including CMMC compliance. We're fortunate to have a pair of distinguished Costpoint experts with us today. Joining us shortly will be Susan Mitchell, Chief Services Officer at NeoSystems, and Michael Musalian, Senior Costpoint Consultant at NeoSystems. Here's a quick look at our agenda. We'll begin with an overview of some key enhancements in Costpoint 2025.3, including some by functional area. In addition, we'll take a live look at the new Harmony user interface and point out some of the changes you'll see. And we'll offer some support resources from NeoSystems related to this new Costpoint release. Now to get us started, I'd like to hand off to Susan Mitchell. Susan?
Thank you, Don. So hello, everyone. We're trying to pack a lot into 30 minutes for you today. We wanted to do this because we're pretty excited about this 2025.3 version. It's got a lot of really cool things in it. So we kind of wanted to get out there and get everybody, kind of start getting you guys acclimated to it and getting across like a lot of the cool things that are in there. So we're going to start with looking at the Deltek Harmony UI enhancements because the UI looks very different. It's a lot more modern. It looks fantastic. And it's a lot easier, frankly, for those that are new to Costpoint or even the longtime users like myself. It's just got some really great things to help you just navigate the application and everything. So we'll talk a little bit about the navigation, the layout, and one that I absolutely thought was the best thing, because if you've ever been an accountant and trying to look at multiple screens or things in Costpoint, it has the multi-browser kind of tab support now, so you can pull up two of the screens and look at them. We'll also talk through the functional area enhancements. So the accounting, general ledger, projects, and time and expense. So some of those core areas that many of us have used for years, and we won't date ourselves by saying what version we started on, but some of those core modules and the great things that are coming with those, because those are the ones, like if you've been a longtime Costpoint user, that you're going to want to pay attention to. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Musalian. So Michael, if you want to take over.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. The first screen you see here is the Deltek Harmony design framework or user interface. You see the new modern layout. It's more efficient, improves the user experience. Your questions are, what has changed? Looks very familiar to the old setup, but as you can tell, the menu bars here have definitely changed from the previous version. Instead of having the text layout, you're going to have icons here in these menu bars. Just like before, on the left-hand side of the screen, you have your home, your dashboard, favorites, open apps, and then you go down into the search window and the domain and module navigation bars. And we'll deep dive on each of these menus here in a few seconds, but I just want to give you the overview of the landing page here. On the right-hand side of the screen, then, you'll see the user settings and log off button. The log off button is now hidden under the user setting. I think that's my most favorite change. Can't accidentally turn off the Costpoint when you're trying to close one of the browser windows. So that's really helpful. And then these other file menus here, you have the Ask Della AI, as well as the app navigation drawer that used to be up at the top where it was the file menu. This will be where you have the print and save functions and stuff like that. Okay, so diving in here into the left-hand side of the screen, what the menu structure looks like today. It's a hierarchical menu structure, so it's going to look very familiar as you had it before. It's just that you won't get the text spaces until you hover over the icon, and then you'll see the text, written out that way. And similar to before, the domains and modules that are in that list under accounting, planning, projects, stuff like that, if you click on accounting, it then brings up those hierarchical listings, and you can click through to the different application groups as you need to. That part does feel a little bit smoother. Getting in there, navigating it does seem to be a little bit better user perspective. Okay, next we have the action menu. And again, this used to be at the top of the screen before, but they have cleaned this up as well. You have the actions, you have the refresh button, the save button, and then the pin button here. Again, the actions will have a drop-down menu and whatnot, and the probably the other feature here that's really useful is the pin option. So when you go through long tables and have to scroll through those tables, you can pin this to the top of the screen, and you won't have to navigate back up to the top of those tables to access these functions. Okay, and these are dynamic action menus, right? So depending on the application that you're in, the screen and options will change. If you're in a table where you're entering data, you might see the clone option to clone the record, versus maybe an option where you're updating or processing something, you'll see the execute button. Notice here the execute button is just a clean button. This replaces the lightning bolt that we referred to the previous execute button in previous versions. And then you can see down here in the drop-down menus, just like before, when you click on the arrow next to one of the menu icons, you can get the full list of items. So click on save, and you can get save and save and next. All right, then on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll have the old file menu. You'll see at the top there, you have the Della AI icon, notifications, and the files. This is your import and export of files to Costpoint, as well as the print button and the layout options of the screen. Below are the common tools for microphone, keyboard shortcuts, and the help menu. This is probably one of the most common buttons you're going to be using is the print button. Again, it looks like a printer on the right-hand side of the screen, and this opens up the ability to print the record, print the screen, or print the report that you're working on, as well as export that data to Excel. You also have the print options in here in the page setup.
Yes, we accountants love our Excel.
Best feature. Okay, and I think this is what everyone's really excited about is this multi-tab Costpoint browsing. So how do you get to this? You can see in the window here, we have two windows, two browsers open. If you're on your browser under your tab here, laser pointer, if you right click on the tab, it'll have a duplicate option to duplicate the tab. And in previous instances, this would have crashed one of your sessions, but now it doesn't. You can have both of these windows open at the same time, and you can edit and update in each window as you go. So it's a really, really cool feature. Exciting to start using that.
So for those of us that use two monitors, we can now have one on one and one on another and look back and forth. So yeah, that's fabulous.
Okay, and there was a previous feature in all the screens to be able to hide some of the fields if you weren't using them, or some of the columns, depending on the table. There's a new feature that allows you to hide the subtasks. So the window we're showing here is the managed project user flow, where you have 25 different subtasks, and maybe they're not all applicable to your company or to your role. Each user can come in here and customize the subtask that they want to see by clicking on the More button, and then unselecting the subtask that you might want hidden from view. Okay, for the Ask Della, again, this is integrated right into Costpoint. If you click on that Ask Della button on the right-hand side of the screen, it'll bring up the AI tool. And in there, you can have different recommendations, requests or whatnot sent to Della to work on. They really shine with operational questions. And some of the examples that we're showing there on the screen are what you can use. Show me what vouchers are open. What's my employee ID? Just some examples of how you can use this tool. It's also really good at showing information from the help menu. So if you say, hey, how do I approach the AP voucher? It'll give you some tips and tricks on how to do that.
Yeah, so it's a lot more, and we were having a good time testing this in our test database, but there's a lot of nice things that you can do, just from the perspective of if you have questions about your data, or you have questions about, again, like the one that I was using, kind of the real world example at, when we were looking at it was, show me a contract that is past the period of performance, or, if you have ones that, if you're entering budgets and things like that, and you want to know if it's 75% of the, say the funded value or something. So you could ask, you can ask Della those questions and it will give you back those answers. So that is a really powerful tool, especially for, those users that might not know where to go look in the system for that, or something, something to that perspective. They can ask Della now. So it's a really good feature, and I would tell all of you to test this through, like, enable it, look at it, use it, because a lot of times with these upgrades, at least, and Michael, you've done a lot of upgrades and stuff for clients as well, but a lot of times people will upgrade and they will do what I call, they'll upgrade in place, meaning they'll upgrade and they basically will just try to maintain the status quo, and they won't look at all of the new things that are there. What I would say with this version is, do the testing and go through and look at all of the new things that are there for you, because there is a lot of great new functionality that will automate your life and make things much easier for you. So definitely go through this, through this upgrade, and take advantage of the new functions. And I just want to throw out there, if you're overwhelmed by how to do that, there is another webinar, and we can, point you guys to that. But there was another webinar that we had done where we walked you through how to assess, basically how to upgrade, and how to assess, what things are going to be applicable to you and things like that, and how you would want to kind of carve out what you would want to test, and focus on the areas. And I can refer that to you all. If anyone's interested in that, shoot me an email after, and I can point you in the direction of that. But it basically walks you through how to do your upgrade process. Sorry, Michael. Go
No,
ahead.
thank
I
you.
interrupted you.
Great information. Thank you for sharing. And then one last feature here, the classic UI is still accessible for the next year. This is a feature that's enabled in the config user settings. So if you just don't take to the new UI, you can still use the old user interface on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so key enhancements by functional area, we're just going to pull out a few. There's probably 25 to 50 new enhancements in the new release 8.3 or 2025.3. These are just kind of 4 that we picked out. We want to demo you today, given the interest of time. So we'll talk about the closing manager and the accounting module, a new view cash receipts report that's available for looking at data, project security updates under the project module and business intelligence, and then the Teeny table changes. That was more integrations going on there. So we'll just walk through a few of those here real quickly. And I think one of the biggest questions I get, I support on the finance side and support month-end close. And a lot of our clients have the question is, what do I do during month-end close? What are the specific steps? And we usually send you a checklist to go through. But luckily now this new feature in Costpoint allows this closing plan to be developed, and it is kind of a template that you can use to help not only remember the tasks that you have to go do, but you can assign the task out to people, track the status if it's open, closed, starting, and then also target dates, right? If you do this on day 1 of close or day 2 of close, and provide the updates in here. So it's kind of a mini program management tool that you can use to help do your month-end close. I think that's kind of neat and helpful, and again, just keeps you on track to have these updates made during the close process.
Well, and I have to dart in here because this, out of everything, me being an accountant, this was one of the things that I loved the most. And honestly, I'm not aware of another application that has this type of function in it. Like usually there's an add-on module or another application you have to go get, to like hook on to get it to do it. But the fantastic thing about this is that many of us have had, like, if you're a controller or somebody like that, you've had your CFO or somebody come in and be like, where are we with close? Like, what's going on? Where, what step are we at? When am I going to have my numbers? That kind of stuff. So what this allows you to do is, one, they can see, your CFO could see exactly where you're at and who's the next person in the process. You could actually do this where using the workflow tool, because if you have assigned users like user titles and things like that, you could actually use the workflow tool to notify people, like that this task has been done and hey, it's your turn, you're up, go do your task. You can also have it, you can reference the job processes that would need to be done potentially. So there's a lot of great functionality in this tool to run your close. So I just wanted, I was very happy, like I said, when I saw this, because I've been wanting something like this for a very long time in Costpoint. So I'm looking forward to getting to use this one in practice. So anyway, I'll give it back to you, Michael.
Great information. Yeah, thank you. All right, so another one of the enhancements is a view cache receipt application. It's a new reporting tool where you can go in and view the data. It's, the parameters are at the top of the screen. You can type in your cache account or a specific customer that you want to see the cache entries against. And again, hitting the execute button would bring up the table on the bottom where you can see the cache receipts that have been posted. This wasn't an option before, so that's probably a really cool enhancement for the accounting team. Okay, this is another big change on the project side, and for people that are using the Costpoint Business Intelligence tool, they moved away from the project management security in Costpoint BI and are now using this project role security. So, not all of our clients are using this functionality or feature, but if you did go into the manage project role screen, you could assign users to specific roles on the project and then give them access rights to different areas. So again, if you're going to be doing project reporting in BI, and there's a lot of cool technology there, we highly recommend you do use the BI option to do reporting. It does open up the world of Costpoint and data for you in a customer-friendly manner. So the next slide here is about on the T&E import changes. There is a change here. It's kind of happening behind the scenes today, which is, if you import tables, they were pushing these tables via CSV files, but now they're just going to be direct link tables. So depending on your export options you have selected for the T&E, the import export between the T&E and Costpoint, you might need to change your job parameters on those to export tables versus CSV files, because the CSV file is no longer an option. All right, now we get time for a quick demo. Switch over to Costpoint here. So here's Costpoint. This is the landing page that we're talking about. Lost my presentation. That's okay. So here's, again, as I hover over the button, you get to the welcome screen. This is your typical dashboard screen that you'll see. And yeah, as you hover off the icons, it goes away. The words go away and whatnot. But these are all the same applications that you were seeing previously. Your dashboards, if you had those set up, any menus that you have saved would be in the My Menu area. You still have the open application button here that shows you how many different applications you have open in Costpoint. The search functionality is still there. Again, we highly recommend using this. Navigate your way to different modules if you can't remember where they're located or where they sit in the different application groups. But again, if you type in the search, you can still get to your application system. And then under the specific domains, like for accounting, you still have your GL, you have your same application groups as before. This has not changed. The order and organization of this has not changed. But yeah, you can now see these kind of in a hierarchical view versus how they used to jump across the screen in different boxes. So it is a little cleaner, a little bit more efficient to use. It took me about a week to adapt to this. Just it is different, but yeah, once you get in there, it's kind of pretty intuitive. You'll figure it out pretty quickly. Yeah, so these are the domains modules. This is everything on the left-hand side of the screen. And then you'll notice the action bar is not here because I'm not in the screen to perform action. If I went into the screen, say like manage accounts, that action bar then comes up and I can use that to maybe clone a record or I cloned something that wasn't what I wanted, so I can refresh all, get rid of that. So this kind of functions the same as before. It's just in a different bar. As I mentioned, pinning this, like here in the manage account screen, you might have quite a lot of accounts. If you pin this menu, it stays at the top. Don't pin it, it can go away. So That's cool technology there. And then off to the right again, the Della AI. I came in here and says total voucher 1001. Takes them a couple seconds to respond, but it'll come back and give you information on specific questions that you ask it, which is really, really neat to have. Can't find any data. I think I posted that one earlier, so I can't do it. But if you have other questions like where is the AP approval window, it could go and look up the help menu, basically all of the Deltek help support, and then bring you back specific examples of whatever your question may be. It's somewhere to go. So it's kind of like a much better help menu than it was before. See here, you can kind of look through this and it'll give you hints of where to go or what you need to do to make a process step happen. So we'll let you play around with that yourself. That's a really cool feature, and there's a lot of new technology available there. So that's pretty neat. So if we kind of continue through the rest of this menu here, you still have your old notifications. If there is any here, I don't have any workflows set up, so the message is blank. And then this is the file button where you used to have the import export. If you want to upload a file to the screen, or maybe you want to go to the download application and download a file from Costpoint. This is the same screen as before. Again, it's just moved from the file menu used to be up here. Now it's just on the right-hand side of the screen. There's execute. Bring up your list of files that are in this folder. Right. Okay. So again, here is the print option. Let's go back to our account screen. And when I click on the print window here, then if I have all these records open, I can export this to Excel. Just like before, it used to be at the top right up here on your menu bar. Now it's just off to the right. So if we click on queried record information, that's how you get the export from Excel to work. One other thing to note, I think in some of these screens, you have to click the execute button up here. And previously, the print button was right next to it. That functionality hasn't changed, except the print button's now moved off to the right. So if I'm going to go process a report, like let's say I'm posting a journal entry, I still have to come over here and print the record, and then I can go up to the action button and click on the execute button. So it just moves it farther to the right, but it's a little bit cleaner. So it's kind of a nice trade-off. And again, the other options I was mentioning here in the settings, your print options. So if you want to select the file type you want to export to, maybe you do different file options instead of PDF. You want it in Excel, the regular HTML or the old version. You can have these exported selection there. And again, none of this has changed. None of these submenus have really changed. It's just the organization of where they sit on the menu.
It's just it's a much cleaner way to interface with the application, and an easier way to get around it, especially for new users. So if you're having to, I think that's also one of the things is if you have new users in your organization, or if you're new to Costpoint, it's a much easier way to navigate around and get your bearings on it. Because you can ask Della, if you're, if you don't know where something is or anything like that, you can use that process to help you, and you can just, get around much faster with less clicks. So
there's a question in the chat here about exporting the closing plan, and I believe the answer is yes. Let's go to export to Excel. See, that was Alicia. Yeah, good question. I ran this before, but yeah, it'd be the same functionality as before, where you click print to Excel and then you can export the file. So yeah, maybe the CFO or something of the company isn't in the Costpoint instance. You can then export this and print this out and then send it to them that way.
yeah, sometimes you don't want the CFO in the system.
Exactly.
So
Keep them out if you can. Okay, so that's that. Oh, the closeout module. So yeah, this is the closing plan. So if we click on the closing plan, it's still under the general ledger, company calendar, and the closing plan. Again, it's accounting, GL, company calendar, closing plan.
okay.
The question about the billing module under the billing tab. yeah, I think we can get you access to that if you need it.
Okay. And then I believe, Michael, we wanted to do a quick poll. Is that correct?
Yes, let's go back. I'm gonna turn this back over to Don now, but let's go. There. You want to talk about this one, Don?
Sure. Thanks, Michael. So we know there's a lot of interest and excitement about this newest version around Deltek Harmony. So we want to hear from you. I'm going to launch a poll here in just a moment about what Costpoint 2025-3 enhancements would you like to see featured on future NeoSystems webinars. So go ahead and please enter your responses to that. We'll give you just a few seconds to do that. All right, we'll give about 10 more seconds before we close the poll. All right. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and share those results. So it looks like there's quite a bit of interest in business intelligence changes, as well as the Ask Della and Della Teams app. Those seem to be the two most requested features.
Okay, so were there any other questions, Dawn, that we had?
There was one question that came in, Susan, a moment ago about if there were any changes related to time and expense.
Yeah, I think the table update was the biggest one. I did hear a few clients mention that they thought the time and expense process was changing, but it's really just those tables, the import export of those tables is what was the major change. There's one other feature, we didn't have time to share it today, but it was you can do a search now by the PLC code available for users, but you can look up the PLC code if they're assigned, one PLC code across different projects. The user can go do a lookup on that. But very minor changes, no major UI changes or anything like that, or done in that area.
Well, and the other thing I would say about this upgrade is that as you're going through the process is that there's many things like and NeoSystems, we're kind of in an interesting position because we're a Deltek partner and a Microsoft partner. So there's a lot of things in this version where it's interfacing with your Microsoft application. So you have content management that's interfacing, that can interface with SharePoint. That's not new, but again, that's something that's in this version. You have the Teams kind of interface that you can have with this, and then you also have your interactive emails that happen. So as you're going through this upgrade process, just know that you are going to have to engage with your like if you're whoever's managing your Microsoft kind of tenant and things like that, you will need to know who kind of your tenant admin is and how, because they may have to enable some things or allow some things so that you can get the full benefit of the latest version of Costpoint. So that's just one of the things I would say take into account when you're making your plan for this upgrade, is that you will need some of that IT assistance to help you. And then I think in kind of closing this out, so we have our NeoSystems blog, and Dawn, do you want to talk more about this?
Sure, Susan. I had mentioned very early on in my introductory comments that NeoSystems is going to have some resources available to our clients and prospects related to this latest Costpoint release. We're going to be putting out new content over the coming weeks and months related to this release. again, things you heard here today. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into those topics and subtopics. So you can please check our blog regularly for that fresh content. And then we're also going to be considering more webinars in the coming weeks and months. Your feedback on that topics was very helpful, so we're going to use that to put together some additional topics to help folks get more familiar with this latest release. There wasn't one final question that came in, Susan and Michael, and that question is, when will this upgrade be available?
So depending upon where where you're at, where your application is at, depends on when it will be available for you. So I would check on, if you're if you're in the Deltek cloud, I would check with with the Deltek support folks on, when your pod is going to be, getting this. If you're on-prem, I believe it's already available to you for you to download and to load that into your, into a test environment and, take a look at it. So it just varies depending upon, where you're hosted and things like that. So you would just want to follow up with, whoever's host, wherever your database is. So.
All right, that looked like the final question. Michael, if you wouldn't mind just moving forward, we'll get these last few slides. As you can see here, NeoSystems, as we always have, we offer a plethora of services related to Costpoint. Susan had mentioned earlier assessments, optimization, certainly upgrades. We've got an integration team that does amazing work. We've got a business intelligence and analytics team that works with a lot of Costpoint clients. So if you have any questions or any needs related to this version of Costpoint or previous versions or anything else, please give us a call, give us a ring. We're happy to talk and support you regarding that. So we already went through questions. So I think we'll wrap up. We're about 2 minutes past. Again, thank everyone for attending. If we go to that final slide, we've got the email addresses for Susan and Michael. If you have any questions regarding the presentation or anything regarding this latest Costpoint version with Harmony, please reach out to them. They'll be happy to answer your questions. And again, we look forward to seeing you on the next NeoSystems webinar soon. Thank you.